Hello everyone, welcome to another Music of the Week episode. It's episode 100! We've officially hit triple digits, and I'm not really doing anything super special for it, but I do have 6 albums to go through. So I say we go through them, because there's only 6, and I need to periodically keep checking on the puppy. This'll be fun. We begin with the Bad Ends and their album, The Power and the Glory. Now, from what I was able to check out about the Bad Ends, I believe they're sort of a supergroup formed from members of some older bands. I don't know a whole lot about them. But I quite liked it. This was a nice bit of sort of folky, indie, punky rock stuff. I'm giving this one a B. I thought it was a very charming and very simple but not too simplistic album to listen to. It had some really good production going for it as well. I quite like the performance work too. I liked a lot of the riffs as well. It was mostly like sort of the Spanish Love Songs-esque indie punk, but without as much of an edge to it like that band has. I still liked a lot of what I got though. Just, very fun, really good storytelling in the lyrics too. Nice performance work. Paced quite well too. So yeah, just pretty solid folky stuff. From a genre I don't really check out much. I think this is one worth checking out, like this album at least, so maybe give it a shot. We next go to a debut though. From what I know, this band is not a supergroup by any means. It is Black Button with their first ever album, Rejoice. And holy hell, this was some really, really good sort of like crusty, heavy punk. I'm giving this one highest grade of the episode, spoiler alert, giving this one an A. I really, really fucking enjoyed this one. There was such like a power and roughness to the riffs that I quite liked. The production was really good as well. It reminded me of an album that came out last year. I don't remember the name of the band, but it was an album that I think was a bit snubbed from my personal top 30, but it's one I remember liking. It sort of reminded me a bit of that, but like a bit more undergroundish in a way. Really solid lyrical themes, like mostly focused on sort of mental health and political wrongness, essentially. Other good things besides that, the lyrics are a little bit abstracted places, are still really fun to read through if you can find them, and you can on their Bandcamp, so go give it a go. I quite like the production. It was kept like very raw, like everything was just recorded live and in the setting. It worked really well, doesn't really overlap anything, and that's something to be said considering that there's only 3 members. There's a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer. I don't know which of them does the singing, but they do a great job as well. Really good pacing for an album that's only like 27 minutes long. I think it might be the shortest album in this episode. Just really, really good, like heavy, crusty, punky stuff. So if you like that stuff, I recommend giving this one a go. It actually pleasantly surprised me, and it's possibly a front runner for a top 30 by the end of the year. I quite liked it. Next we have July Talk, and my cat's here as well, with their, just July Talk is the band's name, with their album, their 4th one I believe it is, Remember Never Before. So these are a sort of indie, bluesy, alternative rock group from Canada, I believe. Again, I'm not really doing locations or such, because I don't really see that as super duper important. I'm giving this album a C+. I thought it was okay. It was pretty above average. It does the things it wants to get right, it's got decent riffs, really nice synth and keyboard bits to it, some nice drum work, weird lyrics at times. I can't really decipher what's going on. I think there's stuff about love, but it's not really like a concept thing either. I get that like not all albums have to be conceptualized, but I don't know, there was just something that felt loose about the tone. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't super great. The performances are alright. I like the chemistry between the 2 lead vocalists, because one's a dude and one's a dudette, and I like the energy that they had with each other. I just wish the rest of the band could have kept up on occasion. Hi. He's looking at me like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You like July Talk, don't you? Even though this is only the first album that I'm covering. He's got valid opinions for a cat. Next is the production. The production I thought was alright as well. I thought the structuring was fine. That's it. I just thought the album was fine. It did the things it was kind of supposed to do. And yeah, it didn't do them terribly. It didn't do them too great. It's alright. Next we go a bit older with a band called Catatonia and their newest album, Sky Void of Stars. These are a proggy, rocky metal group, and I'm giving this one a B. Now, while I do typically despise the usual tropes of prog rock and metal, I thought this is actually a very fun and more sort of vibrant example of the genre. Hello. I can't stay forever because I've got to check on the dog soon. I quite liked a lot of the elements that went into it. I thought the riff work was really great. I wish there were more guitar solos on it. Lyrically, it did appear to tell a story of some sort of Revolution as well, and I wish that I could have found more about the lyrics, because there was seemed to be quite something quite interesting going on with the story, if there is one to even begin with. I enjoyed the performances as well, especially that of the lead singer, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was really good. The production was pretty good as well, very solid, very slick, polished things in just the right way, but doesn't overdo it. Structurally wise is where it can kind of fall, because some of the songs just feel a bit filler and a bit too long. It is prog after all. You're not going to get like all killer all the bloody time, but as an album I'm going to be covering in a bit in this very episode is going to tell you that's not always the best thing. So yeah, I thought this was pretty solid for a proggy leaning album, and I enjoyed it, you know. I like the story that was going on, I like the unique approach taken with it, and it's definitely one I'd recommend you give a spin yourselves. Next we have New Found Glory and their new album, Make the Most of It. Now you all know New Found Glory, pop punk granddaddies. They've been around since the late 90s, they recreated the new American boom of pop punk, which popularised many other bands as well, that I still listen to today as well. Even though I got into a lot of them after the 90s, because I wasn't as into good music back then. This album I'm giving a B+. I really liked it. There was some really good elements to it. It's a New Found Glory album, there's a good chance I was going to like it anyway. But it was written in a harrowing time because lead guitarist Chad Gilbert had a cancer scare in 2022, and the band really didn't want to make the album just about that. And I kind of appreciate the fact that they didn't just make it about that. There was actually a very loving tone taken with things as well, a very nice tone of like friendship and just love for your friend who's going through a tough time. So, for that reason alone, I can recommend the album. However, right, so the problem isn't that the album is acoustic. I actually quite like the fact that it's acoustic. The problem is that there's 14 songs. You only need to listen to the first 7 because they're all original songs. The last 7 are live acoustic re-recordings of some of the band's most popular singles, like Hit or Miss, My Friends Over You, Understatement, Failures Not Flattering, and 3 others that I don't remember the names of off the top of my head, but yeah, that was a weird choice to make. It doesn't really justify it as an album. It's more like an EP if you think about it that way. But you know, Black Button's album had 10 songs, and that was shorter than 7 original songs on New Found Glory's album. And I still recommend giving it a try, especially if you like your laid-back acoustic emo tinge pop punk. It's got a really good sort of vibe to it in that regard. I like the sort of subtle violin work as well. The lyrics, again, just really great, very loving, very sweet, not overly saccharine either, which is a good sign because that is something New Found Glory can fall victim to. I'm glad they managed to avoid it here. Performances are still great. Jordan Puntick's a really good vocalist, and I hope that Chad Gilbert does recover fully as well, because I've always thought he was a very underrated pop punk guitarist, so I'd like to see him return in full force soon. Yeah, production-wise, really good, very simple, not overly simplistic, really well done. Structure-wise, I think if all the songs had been original acoustic recordings, I would have given it maybe a high grade, but as it is, I think it's really good for what it is. So, I recommend you go and find this out for yourself, especially if you know someone, or you yourself is going through a tough time. Put this album on, it might make you feel a little bit better. And finally, we have another debut. We have Reburied with their album, Repulsive Nature. This is a death metal album, and this is the album I was alluding to when I brought up Catatonia's album, when I was talking about that. This one gets a D, right? So, it is death metal, which is not why it gets a D, because I do like good death metal. I like good death metal. I like Shadow of Intent. I like Ingested. I like Lorna Shore. This is not that. I will give credit to the band themselves. They're dedicated, hardworking performers, and they sound like they're having fun, right? But everything else about the album just falls flat for me. The album is so full blast all the time, and it doesn't need to be. There's, I think, about 10 songs or so, and it's only 31 minutes and 20 seconds. They could have easily stretched that out and made it feel a bit bigger and more impactful, but no, they were just running through the motions trying to get shit done quick, which I don't really understand why. The production is horrible. You can barely understand what's going on with the vocals anyway, but to bury it under so much like crushing walls of sound with the guitar and bass and drums, it just didn't work for me. It just really didn't work. There's little like complexity within the riffs. They're very repetitive, and it doesn't serve the structuring at all. There's no like actually good pacing with it. It just feels like one 31-minute long breakdown, and it's not my personal style of metal. And also, I should have put a warning before I put the cover up, but the cover's kind of gross, and it also speaks to how try-hard the album can be at times. Because, like, the song titles, I'm not going to go through lyrics, because I couldn't really find any, but I'm not sure I want to, judging by some of the song titles, which are also gross, so I won't say any names. The band themselves are not the problem. Everything else around the album just sort of collapses for me. It doesn't really push many boundaries, and the ones it tries to push, it goes a bit too far with. Like, it doesn't really know how to contain itself. And again, it is a debut. I will give the band the benefit of the doubt because they're the best thing about the album, but they need to change something for the next one. And with that being said, that is a very sad sort of downer note to end episode 100 of all things on. So I'll just do like the rankings thing right now. So least favourite to most favourite would be Reburied, Kind of Obvious, Jolly Talk, The Bad Ends, Catatonia, Newfound Glory, and Black Button. But as always, I recommend you give all of these at least one spin. Yes, especially Reburied's album, because this is his debut, and if you would just want some crushing and simple death metal, you could do a lot worse, but you could do better, and you can do better, and I believe Reburied can do better, and I hope that they do better. As for what's next from me, well, Heat at the Moment, tomorrow night, live, 9 PM on my Twitch channel. Next video, possibly another Fight the Night review on Sunday if there's one to talk about. And also, hopefully at some point over the weekend, I will have edited and fully put up my Metal Hellsinger Let's Play, because there's only 2 parts left of that to do. So, yeah, I will see you all for a lot of shit over the weekend. And as always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. Bye-bye.